around a campfire, you could see if somebody was hurting. Everything was right there. You couldn't hide anything.
No. So your healing is our healing. So let's do this together. Now that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Both scientifically and emotionally. We don't do that. We sort of isolate the individual, and then we separate the mind from the body. So we say it's just a brain problem. No, it isn't. It's a life problem.
Yeah.
And that life is lived in an environment, in a multi-generational family, in a certain culture. Let's look at the whole thing.
Is there advice you can give to people, to young kids that are living through a shitty situation of any sort, a tough life?
Find a thing you like. Try to find a thing that you really enjoy. Try to find a thing that you're passionate about.
Like an activity?
Yes. For me, early on, it was drawing. It was illustrations. It was comic books. I wanted to be a comic book illustrator. And then it went from comic book drawing and illustrations to martial arts. But it was just another thing that I was very, very passionate about. And that was my vehicle out of my dilemma. That was my vehicle out of my own anxiety and trauma and my own issues and insecurities. And find something. Find a thing that you genuinely enjoy, because getting good at things you genuinely enjoy is extremely beneficial.
I remember when I was young, I could not talk to girls. I just felt embarrassed. I couldn't talk to girls that I liked. That was the toughest part. I was just afraid. I just had this thing built in my head that they hated me or that they just did not like me.
What age should you have it all together? At what age should you have it all figured out? Everybody looks at you at 26, 27, 28 years old and says, hey man, what's wrong with you? How come you don't have everything figured out? They're a fool. Knowledge and experience and wisdom takes time. Wisdom comes from experience, and experience takes time. The more experience you have, the more you learn from that experience, the wiser you can get. If you haven't lived long enough to have a broad enough portfolio of experience, then you can't expect to have knowledge and wisdom.
I've had times in my life where I've thought too much about regrets and stuff in my life, right?
Yeah.
And we've talked about that some in the past, like looking in the past too much, right? Or
right.
attaching myself to the past. Has there been anything along your journey that you've kind of regretted? And then how do you deal with regret?
I mean, individual choices and mistakes, yeah, but ultimately you learn from those. So no, because even the regrets, the bad things or the stupid things, you learn not to do bad things or stupid things. All those things are beneficial in some way if you can get through them. If you did something that resulted in someone's death or something horrible like that, yeah, it'd be a terrible regret. But I've been very fortunate that hasn't happened. But the dumb shit that I've done or the bad mistakes that I've made, they've taught me. You learn. That's why failure is so important. Failing and fucking up and making mistakes, it's very important. That's how you learn. The bad feeling that you get from something that you shouldn't have done or wish you didn't do or wish you did better, especially failing at something where you half-assed it and you just feel like a fucking loser, that just teaches you. It teaches you to get your shit together.
Well, you have such a good ability to learn from those things. Some people, I think, kind of it's just like it gets repetitive for some people.
That's dangerous. Yeah, it's dangerous to dwell on past mistakes because people sort of define themselves by the worst moments that they've ever had. And if that's the case, some people are stuck in high school. They're stuck in failures that they had when they were first getting jobs, and they always think that they're a loser, and they don't like the feeling of failure, so they keep low expectations so that they never have to feel that. You got to get through it. You got to get through bad feelings. You got to get through failure. It's very important. And you get through it by just picking yourself back up and moving forward and going. But it's hard for a lot of people because that sting, they never get over it, the feeling of failure. And they don't have a good support system, good friends. Having a good community of friends is very, very important.
That's all.
Do you think we can start to head more in that direction, or how do you think this changes? Because we're far down the well here.
I think
Because sometimes you even said roar. Like sometimes I feel like our whole planet just wants to fucking roar. It's like I feel like everybody just wants to go in the yard and just scream at the sky. It's like, I don't know. It feels like there's just something trapped in us that is. Does that make any sense, man?
I think the level of frustration in our society has increased. Why are people frustrated? Because their needs aren't being met.
Yeah.
And that scream, look, I travel all over the world. I just came back from a 3-week, 6-country tour of Europe.
Wow.
I talked to 12,000 people. That sense of frustration, that sense of longing that we talked about, it's so universal these days.
It is.
Yeah.
Is it? Because that's what it feels like. This, are other people feeling this? That's what I wonder a lot. Are other people feeling this same way?
Well, some people are not, because they escape, and this society is absolutely brilliant at creating escapes.
Through it, and you're gonna have to practice. And what I would practice is listening. I'd practice listening, man. I think you could be thinking, because I personally used to think that I had to start the conversation every time. Sometimes you can just listen. Just listen. I mean, a lot of women, all they want is a man to listen to them and to care. And I think if you start with that, with the listening, then you'll eventually find spots where you can interject and offer something to the conversation, And also, and you can just try things also. If you want to try little things to talk to a woman, I would try little things like, what kind of candy do you like? Shit that like a 5-year-old would say. Because all it's about is starting the conversation. You don't need to think or worry 3 or 4 steps in advance. Just say hello. My name is so-and-so,
You could feel like if a girl broke up with you and you feel like you're the worst, you're a fucking loser, like you're a piece of shit. But then you go out with your friends and you have a few laughs, and next thing you know, you're laughing and you're like, I'm all right. We'll be all right. And then maybe you meet a new lady.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she picks you up and you're like, oh, we're going to be okay. And then you learn from the last mistakes.
Yeah.
That's life. It's just those feelings of failure are so hard. They're so hard to get over, and they overwhelm people, and some people can't get past them. And then every time some new thing comes up, when you have to rise to the occasion, you have to perform, you think about that time you failed, and it fucks your head up, man. You think, I'm a fucking loser, I can't do this, I'm gonna fail, I'm gonna fuck up, bombing. Like, how many times have you had a bad set, and you're like, God damn it, I suck at comedy, I can't do this, I suck at comedy, that's just it, I just suck. And then you define yourself that way. You got to get over it.
We're told by society today, and it's inferred by movies and television programs, that by the time you're 26 or 27, you should be graduated from college, you should have a degree, you should have a good job, you should have a wife, and you should have it together. We watch these programs, and they're, this movie, it's an hour and a half long, and within an hour and a half, a person goes from a goofed up teenager to someone who's just settled and got it all going on. And they get the job, they put their childhood bully in his place, they get the girl, fade to black. And we're left to imagine the rest of their life. And what we imagine is left with the last thing that we see. Man, they got it together. Of course, we don't consider the fact that if you turn the TV off and watch the news, you'll see those same actors show up in the news again and again, making stupid mistakes, and they ain't got it together. A pine tree grows and matures very fast. An oak tree grows and matures very, very slow. But which one lasts longer? And which one is stronger? Which one shelters more critters and more birds? Which one, when it's done and over and it's cut down, which one is more valuable for the lumber? People don't go out and say, I'm going to spend extra money for some pine furniture. They want oak furniture.
Yeah, that's what, it's just like, I just feel like we've just gone so far off the path of...
But if I can say something, your sense that we've gone off the path, what in you knows that? It's the part that hasn't gone off the path. It's the part that actually sees. So that, I don't want to create too much doom and gloom here.
No.
There is this self here, there's this trueness here that's never been damaged, never been destroyed. There's nobody's damaged goods that way. It's always in here. It's a question of, can we connect with it?
Right. And that, how do we get back to connecting with that sort of thing? Because our society, our culture is not going to do it for us, it doesn't feel like. We might have to start with it as individuals.
Like, everybody thinks they're a loser. Every young person thinks they're a loser. At least a young person in the situation I was at. Like, I didn't know I wasn't a loser until I started winning, until I started doing martial arts. Martial arts taught me that, like, I could get better at stuff, that I wasn't really a loser. I just was someone who was like in a fucked up situation. But you could channel all that energy that you have as a young person into something and get better at it. And then all of a sudden people admired me. I was like, this is crazy. So I went from being someone who was incredibly insecure and basically a failure to someone who was really successful at this one thing that was very dangerous, that other people were scared of.
Nobody bursts from their mother's womb ready for the world. Nobody burst from their mother's womb aged and mature and wise. And I'm not wise. I'm not saying I'm wise. I just say that happened. That's why that happened. So, man, maybe we ought not do that. I don't know. To me, that's a kind of a shallow, easy definition of wisdom. Just now, starting to get a little bit figured out.
Just little things like that are really the starters. And you have to get your self-confidence up, because the thing is, they probably do like you. You know, they probably do, and you just have to find some ways to be comfortable around them. So comfortability will lead to communication. So if you can get to being comfortable, you're going to be in a good spot. Now, you also, man, if you get hooked up on the drugs and that, you're going to have to start weaning yourself off of that.
When you share about yourself, that's a source of support to others. When they share about themselves, that's support for you. So that ultimately, no, we don't have to do it by ourselves. It begins as an individual process, but pretty soon you find that we're not alone.
Yeah. Do you think we can get out of this toxic culture, Gabor? Do you feel like there's a way out of where we are? Or do you feel like that humanity is just...
I believe in human beings.
That's a great statement. I do too.
You know, I believe that there's an essential goodness there, a desire to connect, a desire to belong, a desire to celebrate life. You know, I think we're endowed with those capacities. And as difficult as things may look, and especially these days with this terrible wars going on and the suffering that we've talked about, I still believe that there's so many examples. Everywhere I go, I meet such good people. People are trying to make a difference. People are trying to do their little bit or their big bit to reduce the suffering in the world, to speak the truth, to offer some love, compassion to the world. I really do believe in humans. No, we have the potential to be monsters. We have the potential to be angels. But that good side never totally disappears.
And there will come a time you keep going and you keep learning and you keep growing. That one day you'll look down and the card you needed was there and it's been there all along. But that ain't going to come for a while. And my encouragement to you is stop being so hard on yourself. But you'll not get there if you quit. Fellas, you'll not get there if you quit, if you just say, forget it. You know, I can't be the man that I wanted to be. Well, of course you're not right now. You will not be the man that you want to be until you grow into it. You have to grow into it. So the whole point of this video is just to encourage you chill out, man. Worst thing you've ever been through. And so all of a sudden you're sitting there and you're thinking, man, I thought my life was together, now it's in shambles at my feet. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not. It's all right. It's all right.